That's what I would say. Actors be insane. You know, no one knows of me, but that's the perfect thing about it.
Today I'm sitting with Preston Jonas Jr, who has been in all of the Mad Dog shorts so far and is now taking on a bit of a producer role as well in our upcoming feature, Grows Giant. So welcome.
Thank you very
We're going
much.
to be talking about acting in South Africa, starting out as an actor, and just what the overall scene is like and how your experience has been so far. I'm Danny. I work in IT by background, and I'm working as a producer for Mad Dog Pictures. Kiresh and I actually met on the set of the Tastemaster SA, where I was a contestant and he was the director. And I was subsequently invited to the premiere, which got me very, very excited about film. And now here we are a few months later. So do you just want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your background and
Yeah,
so
of
on?
course. Well, as she said, Preston Jonas Jr. By day, salesman, by night, actor. Also taking on the new role for Grows Giant as a producer. And yeah, it's been quite exciting with Mad Dog Pictures themselves. The journey past 4 years, I think we've worked together, myself and Mad Dog Pictures, and it's been nothing but exciting and enjoyable since. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So my first question is about kind of laying down the groundwork. So a lot of people romanticize acting and it's all about the glam and the glitz and all of that. What did you think this phase would look like and what is it actually in reality?
In reality, it's a lot more difficult, I would say. I also, when I first started, actually, I thought it would be glitz and glam. Not taking in the fact that when you start from the bottom, it's not immediately going to jump to what you think it would. Obviously, as everyone fantasizes about, you know, the cameras, the lights, the premiere nights and all of that. But the moment I actually got to the scene, it was exactly that. You know, with our first film with Watbo, actually working with Mad Dog Pictures, we went to a premiere night at the lobby. The lights were on, cameras were flashing, and I mean, it was exactly as you would dream it to be. But it can have its ups and downs. I would say personally, from an actor's point of view, is the working aspect. You know, obviously work when it comes, it's there, it's fantastic, it's enticing, it's all that you dream it to be. And sometimes it can be difficult along the way, but it's something that you gotta take in, you know? It's the fantasy of the glamour and then also the realization of this is reality as well.
A lot of ups and downs, and
Yeah.
when it's great, it's really great. And
When it's, I mean, to be honest with me,
Right.
it's never been bad. As an actor coming into the scene about 4 years ago, I haven't had a bad experience since. It's been quite, as they would say here in Cape Town, kiff. There we go.
Okay, so a little bit more about that. What is it actually like trying to start an acting career in South Africa, especially right now?
If we're starting from ground zero, day zero, I would say it's definitely a bit of a waiting game, per se. You have to know your ins and outs of the industry, which is why it helps to go and study or to have some form of qualification so that you network while you busy, you know, studying or whatever it may be. But the main thing is networking. In this game, it depends on who you know, and not so much as what you know, but who you know. I mean, funny enough, I went to high school and I did drama, but the moment I did my studies before, obviously doing my studies in drama, everyone told me I could act, but I didn't see it myself personally. And how this whole journey started was a producer actually on Watbo, Kwanda, personal mate of mine from high school, got me in touch with Kiresh himself. And from there, he gave me a chance. I mean, he never knew who I was. He never knew any work that I did because I didn't actually have work under my belt or my resume. And he gave me a shot. And, you know, it's all about who you know. The networking, getting to where you need to be, you know, finding that right person that gets you in touch with the opportunity. And then you got to take it by the horns and really go for it.
And just someone giving you a chance.
Essentially, 100%.
So when people ask, how do I even start acting in South Africa? What would you honestly tell them based on where you are now?
With South African film, it can be a little bit demotivating, to put it lightly, because, you know, our industry is very different to that of abroad. I mean, opportunities not as, how do I say, prominent, or it's not handed out as easily as what it would be abroad. It's a lot more confined, you know, it's not exactly encouraged, if that makes sense. So for someone who wants to start out in South African film industry, it just leads back to, again, day zero. You need to get in contact with the right people and you need to just basically, look, I'm a salesman. If one door in sales, how it works is if we need to speak to an owner and we don't get that opportunity right, if we pitch ourselves properly, he will then give me what is called a lead to go to the next door. I feel like South African film is exactly the same. If you don't make it, but you project yourself as a real raw talent, someone will eventually say, oh, you know what? Get in touch with that person. They will give you that opportunity, open up that door, and then it will flourish thereafter, which is exactly what my story was. So essentially, hold on to it. Don't let go of it. That hunger, that persistence, because eventually it will come. You know the whole cliche thing, go and chase your dreams and don't let go of it. So I would say, yeah, it's essentially that, yeah.
And you saying a bit about your sales background now, in my mind, I see that a bit as like your superpower, because you are less sensitive to rejection.
Yes.
But you also have that drive to keep on pursuing, even though you've gotten a no. And
Exactly,
I think
yeah.
that is what will propel your career even further, is exactly that.
I can say it is a superpower, if you will, having been in sales. It makes acting a lot easier, but I wouldn't suggest getting into sales first before acting, because it can be quite tiring.
That
100%.
actually segues beautifully into my next question, which is, what is the hardest part about trying to, being an actor that nobody talks about?
My thing is recognition is how you, per se, get to the top. Your reputation, who you are, and all that jazz. So I wouldn't say it's demeaning in a sense or it's demotivating, but again, I always take it as fuel. Anything negative, you got to turn into a positive at the end of the day. Like going back to sales, that gentleman said no. Okay, perfect. I'll move on to the next. Because of the fact that I have that opportunity. It's quite inviting. I'm very different. I see that as, no one knows of me, but that's a perfect thing about it. Because I can silently work away and edge away at what I want to become. And then somewhere or another, that big hit will come. And then out of nowhere, people will have that realization of, oh, this is a raw talent that popped out of nowhere, a diamond out of the rough. And then, we take it from there and then we go forward.
My next question is, have there been any moments where you've questioned whether this path of acting is realistic or sustainable for you?
All the time, to put it bluntly. Because arguably acting, especially in the South African scene, might be one of the most difficult things you can encounter, because everybody is trying to make it. You have your established figures that have been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years. But at the end of the day, it's always a question of, look, like I said, I turn it into fuel. It's am I actually going to make it? Was this the right decision? Was this? Because there's times where, perfect example is our first film that we did, Watbo. It was on set. I was there for one day and then I was gone. And immediately as my first reaction, it's like, okay, this is what it's going to be like. Is it sustainable? Is it worth chasing? Is it, because like I said, at the end of the day, everyone else told me I can do this. But I never really saw it from my side, okay, I'm an actor. And then the third film came along and it's like you said, I've just been involved in all three of these films, and then it sort of starts to change. So you initially get that, is this for me? Is it gonna work out? And then eventually you just change it into fuel. Like I said, a lot of my perception of things, if you turn it into a positive, you just can't go wrong. But it is a real thing. It does play a bit on your mind. And if you're strong enough, you'll take it and you'll make it to the big time. And then unfortunately, if you're not strong enough, it will constantly play on your mind, that type of thing. So yeah, it's there, definitely.
What would you say has been the biggest thing you've learned about yourself throughout this journey?
To be humble, because you may be the biggest guy, but there will always be someone who is either better than you, bigger than you, or sharper than you. And you just have to accept that, So it's also taught me patience, especially working with a director like Kiresh, lots of demands, lots of it's this way or the highway, in a funny way. But no, it's definitely taught me a lot about being humble and also to be a better person. Because at the end of the day, as an actor, you spend a lot of time with the script. As we know, an actor would naturally do that. And sometimes when you're getting into character, you learn one or two things about yourself, actually, that you never thought you would. So, and it really is a humbling experience, to know that, oh, I didn't know I knew this about myself, or I didn't know that this was, a trait of mine, or this, that, and that. So it's definitely a humbling experience, I would say, that's one thing I learned about myself.
Okay. You've been working with Maddock Pictures and Kiresh from the beginning and like building this company from the ground up. What would you say it's been like for you seeing how films actually get made, like on the inside?
The kid who did drama, you learn things about everybody on set, but it definitely is surreal. It is exciting, as I would put it. But yeah, it's just been a great experience so far to be invited, and it's so welcoming to, You know, at first you get to a new job and you're like, oh, everyone's gonna, this is a nobody, everyone's gonna, you know, take him for a joke, you know, this, that, and that. But to experience the film industry, I thought it was gonna be like that, but on a different level, because no one has time to waste. Time is money. You know, everything is a bit intense, but it was just a surreal experience, very welcoming, especially with Mad Dog Pictures. They make it a welcoming home. And that's essentially what it has been. It's been a home. And that's what film has translated into a home. It now feels like it is a home for me, if you will. Yeah.
That's lovely. Okay, so from your perspective so far, what do you think South Africa does really well in terms of supporting new actors?
I think it boils down to, again, so when I mentioned that abroad there's a lot more opportunities, but what South Africa does so well, in my opinion, is it's as simple as that. One day I never thought that it would be for me. The next day I got on a call with one of the producers from the very beginning in Kwanda. And the following day, I had an opportunity to become an actor. So I think the nice thing that South Africa does is, especially in the film industry, is that it gives the opportunity but swiftly, because we want to show almost as it goes, Ubuntu, you know, as one family, all that jazz. We want to show that we can really make it happen as a whole. And I think that's what the SA film industry does nicely, is that they don't hesitate. They give the opportunity and they stick by it and they go through with it. And it's really, again, welcoming in that aspect, I would say.
100%. On the flip side of that, what do you think the South African film industry doesn't do so well in terms of supporting new actors?
I think what they don't do so well is taking the risk. And yes, that might contradict the first part, but when you have it, I think, if I can say respectfully, there's also a sense of laziness from our side in our film industry, because even when we have something good, it's almost as if we are afraid to follow through with it, if that makes sense. And it's, I mean, look, how many South African films can you count out there? I mean, I know obviously I'm only 24, but like there have been times where majority of the time South Africa is used as location setting. You know, it's like Mission Impossible. That plane sequence they formed, that was in South Africa. But I mean, there's no real South African films that's been pushed to get out there, you know, on a regular basis. Like I said, you have something good, there's a sense of anxiousness because, you know, no one wants to take a chance. I mean, funding is a difficult thing in South Africa, you know, especially for if they don't know who you are at the end of the day. You know, things like that. No one's willing to take the risk. And the lazy part is just that, you know, you have something good and the big boys can see you have something good, but it's okay, it's no whatever. So there's no real risk taking from that side, you know, once you have developed something good, if you will.
Okay, so what keeps you choosing this path, even if it feels uncertain at times?
I enjoy the challenge of things. So my motto is I take on something because I like to see the outcome. So I will take on my dedication to a cause is because I want to see what happens. And often people don't have that in them. They just, okay, cool, I want to take it on because it sounds cool, but not for I want to see the outcome, given the fact that I've put blood, sweat, and tears into it. And now, you know, and some people might take that for, okay, for the fame or for, no, it's just given the fact that I can appreciate I've done something that's been difficult and I put in the hard work, and then I get to appreciate it with those who I've worked with and say, okay, we made something great.
That's really powerful. Okay, if someone watching this wants to become an actor in South Africa, but feels a little bit intimidated or even unsure, what advice would you give them?
I would definitely say you need to be insane, which creates dedication, and discipline, which creates hunger, and then that creates drive. So essentially, I guess I'm telling people to be insane in order to achieve what they want. But as an actor, I would definitely say you need that side by you. You need to want it enough to look insane until the outcome is done. Then you look like a genius, essentially. So yeah, that's what I would say. Actors, be insane.
A little bit of delusion and a lot of audacity.
About being insane about your acting path. Don't be insane in general. Let's put it that way, yeah. 100%. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much for joining us today. These are exactly the kind of conversations we want to be having, especially with building our Road to $1 Million movie.
Of course.
Where we're not just building something and we're not saying we know it all, but we're building it from the ground up and figuring it out as we go.
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.